Good morning, and welcome to January 13th, 2024. I thought I'd do something a little different this morning. We're still doing Who Am I, but I thought we'd kind of slant this. Um, Usually, what I try to do is run the whole topic, try to explain a layman's general additive conceptual understanding of source energy in order to help us collectively raise the consciousness so that we can move away from fossil fuels and into the era where we are plugging our technologies directly into the source of all energy, or other things like, steady state frequencies that you can plug into over unity devices, that kind of stuff. Got to raise the consciousness, got to understand where we are in history, all that kind of stuff. Then there's the personal aspects of it, things like the psychology, aberrant psychology, authoritarian psychosis. That's a topic worth understanding, which actually is going to become more prominently interesting in the next few months in the United States, because people don't understand what the situation at hand is about. It's about energy. It's about the way energy flows. And in this particular case, we have disgruntled, angry, frightened, unhappy energies that are finding a home in a political party and a particular candidate. It doesn't have anything to do with the truth. I mean, it does have something to do with the truth, but not like people are always so shocked that it doesn't seem to matter to Trump's supporters. It wouldn't matter to them if the government, if the courts declared him a felon and wanted to throw him in jail. They would see it as political maneuvers, because that's how they would think, that's how they would do it, because they are operating from a position of feeling frightened, angry, threatened. It's disgruntled energy that he is resonating with and bringing into coherent chaos, you could say, a coherent vortex, like a storm developing. It's not the coherence of order on the side of order. It's order against chaos. Isn't that funny? It really is very mythological. It's quite mystical. It's really interesting. Well, normally, my whole presentation is a 2-hour stab at trying to raise general consciousness about the significance of the nature of this source energy, what the nature might be, and how it might affect me, my choices, my life, my understanding of my own biological equipment, as in my physical human body, and how all of its capabilities function, what it's capable of doing, and how to operate it, all of that kind of stuff. So usually that's what I'm talking about, and actually I've just talked about it in a different way. That's cool. What I'd like to do today, I'm going to go about it a little bit differently. I'm not going to pledge that every one of my slides must be shown and the whole picture must, but maybe I will. Maybe it will end up being a whole package. But the direction I'm going to start at this morning, the direction I'm going to come at it, I have a pet idea, I guess you could call it an idea, and I call it divine autonomy. And it has to do, it's an understanding of who am I from a particular perspective. Now, I may have to remind especially people who have never listened to me before, you might not know where I'm coming from. I am coming from an understanding that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And you have guidance, you have broader perspective, you have a vibrational overview, you might say. I think of it as part of your cosmic anatomy, your cosmic vibrational anatomy. It's part of you, but it's not just part of you, it's also part of the universe. It's connected to the universe, it's connected to the nature and reality and physics and physicality of that same universe, but it's vibrational. And you can think of it as you because it's looking at you, it's looking through you, through your eyes, with you, it's looking with you, it's looking at you, it's looking, it is you. In all of these ways, you could think of it as being mystical and complex and difficult to describe and understand, but you know, it still is possible to understand source energy. And certainly it is possible to understand your configuration and how to how to operate in this world, how to be safe in a world that is not safe. The world is not safe. It's never been safe, actually, from the time of the Romans, from the time of the Neanderthals, you know, from the time of the knights and the Middle Ages, from even the 19th century, the 20th century. Oh my God, it's never been safe. It's never been safe. However, an understanding of one's own equipment can cause you, can cause you, is that the right way to put that? It can allow you, is that the right word? Assist you, maybe that's it. Assist you, because it's something that both of you want. One of you knows you've already got it, the other of you wants that feeling of security and safety in this universe. I think there's a lot of people looking for that, and the reason I say that, there's a whole lot of people suffering from extreme anxiety disorders are really top on the list of epidemic levels and, you know, ubiquitous. What boomer do I know that doesn't have an anxious millennial child? You know, it's that kind of thing. In any case, an understanding of this pet idea, I call it divine autonomy. It is a description of your nature. We are divinely one with the wholeness, one with the allness. We are one. We are one energy. We are one morphogenetic field. We are one mind. We are one soul. We are one being, a single being unto this universe. We are that. Amen. And we're going to talk more about that because that matters. It really matters. You live in a holographic universe. That also matters. But you are also autonomous. You're autonomous. You are a divine individuation of this divine wholeness. And that matters too. It really does matter. And you find, you know, human beings out there tend to, you know, cheer for one team or the other. Team allness, team individuality, team allness, team individuality. And the truth of the matter is that both aspects are divinely true, absolutely true, and absolutely they have energies and powers in the understanding of them from the allness side or from my individual side. Both of these sides have divine power. So when you're contemplating your configuration, who am I? It's important to add both of these in. And what I've come up with about this is divine autonomy. This is what and excuse me, learning what it is, how it functions, how to use it to your advantage. And there's no reason to not to think poorly about you looking for your own advantage, because it really is okay to do that. If you do it within the paradigm of we're all in this together and the harmonics of the whole, if you do it from a standpoint of I am one with the group, as well as so it's a win-win. It's absolutely not only okay for you to follow your own desire, it is absolutely vital to the group that you do so. If you do it in an aligned way, what you're creating in the field around you, what we all are creating in the field around all of us as we do this, is a collective win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win, because the setup, the divine universe is set up to allow for win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. The problem comes in when human beings come into the equation and imagine that the paradigm is conflict and competition. Conflict and competition. When they think that's their orders, their marching orders. This is how it works. I got this user's manual. It says competition and whatever. And then they operate that way. That's how you get the world we've got. Human minds coming into higher awareness of how the system functions, how it actually functions, so that we can operate effectively within it. We'll be fine. So this notion of divine autonomy, it's like it expresses both opportunity and obligation to get into the center of your being and man your equipment. You know, be your autonomous individuation unto this wholeness, and we will all dance together in a joyful, beautiful, harmonic, symphonic dance. And so it is very important that you find what you want, find your advantage, but not advantage in competition. It's like, how do I use my understanding of my equipment to my advantage? How about that one? We're not trying to get advantage over others, just you want yourself to thrive, and it's okay. It's okay to want yourself to thrive. As a matter of fact, if you get yourself lined up properly and then seek your own thriving, as it turns out, there is a place where we all want the same thing, and those things that we want, and they all line up in spirit. Now, how we're translating that into physical objects and real manifestations, that's another story. That's another story entirely. But our wants are generally in alignment with one another. Things like, I have them written down here, all the things that human beings generally want. You know, and if you boil it down, some of these you could boil down just a little bit further. They're all feelings. They're all feelings. Higher, more soaring, more free, more unfettered, with less resistance kinds of feelings. It's soaring. We want our heart to sing. We like that feeling. And sometimes we have translated in our minds, we think that, oh, if I just had that new car, my heart would sing. Now, you're wrong about that. That might make you happy for a minute, but that really isn't going to be the source of your happiness. Understanding who you are and how this works is going to go a lot farther towards allowing your heart to find those places where it sings. What do we want? We want things like freedom, abundance, fun, clarity, efficiency, comfort, good food, beauty, all of those kinds of things. None of those were actually very specific. Good food was the most specific one I said there. I want not only good food for me, I want an abundance of food across the entire planet to feed all of the lovely critters that I love so much and enjoy so much watching and feeling their presence around me. I do not want to live in a world that has no biological diversity or biomass other than human beings, which quite frankly isn't possible, because if we destroy the web of life down to where it's mostly just human beings, we're going to destroy ourselves too. The system is going to collapse. But I don't think it's actually going to, because the reason I don't think it's going to is because the love and the understanding, the wisdom, the consciousness is rising in the field. There's a reason why it is called universal consciousness, because universally we all have access into it. Now, I don't know about most of us. I actually have no idea what the percentage of anything is. How many people are consciously tuning into the frequencies that it's more than you think, probably. We all have inner beings that are guiding us. We all have the system is actually so easy, a snail can do it. The problem with human beings is because of our dual mind system. We have a source mind, and then we have a whole nother overview analytical mind that can either resonate with what source knows about the situation, or it can go off into left field on its own and spin out and create the most crazy things. That is what human beings are. That's what human beings do. We can do either of those two things or anything in between. We're magical creatures. If we would but understand our system, we would be very effective magical creatures. So we have these two minds, and even though this system is so easy, a snail could operate it. We as human beings can talk ourselves out of it by believing things that our analytical mind comes up with that our inner being doesn't agree with, and then we ignore our guidance system that's telling us, that does not resonate with the truth, and keep on with it. That's the meaning of following a negative emotion, falling down into a negative emotion, going down into the rat hole, and all rat holes are bottomless. There is no end to the negative momentum if you keep staring at it, focusing on it, and banging the drum of it. In any case, so who am I, and what is this divine autonomy of which I speak? How does it work? Well, it has to do with understanding your configuration. You are divinely your individual self, and as your individual self, if I'm talking to you, although the non-physical consciousnesses can obviously hear me too, they don't need ears to hear me, and universal consciousness knows all things, so they're listening to me too, I'm sure of it. My analytical mind tells me that they are listening to me. I'm not a mystical person. If anybody wants to know who I am, this person who's speaking here, I'm not generally in some ways I'm not a very spiritual person. I've been just deeply analytical my whole life, but also I do have a mystical bent to me, but I've always had an analytical desire to understand such things, as opposed to that spiritual, vibrational kind of person who, who experiences these things. I'm not a witchy person. I am, but I'm not. Who am I? Who are you? Who are you? You got to ask yourself who you are. And within the confines of this divine autonomy concept, so let me get around to what I'm talking about. When you understand your configuration and man your equipment, get into the center of your center, you make yourself more safe in this world. You understand how to set up. Now, your inner being is likely done it for you uh, all your life, set up boundaries of safety. Depending on what kind of a person you are and how in tune you are with your inner being, are you a peaceful, calm person who is already in alignment most of the time and flowing with your life and abounding and abiding in love and cooperative relationship in some way? I know people who belong to a particular religion who within this religion and all of the interaction within this religion um, get quite a lot of this kind of interaction. But nevertheless, there is a particular kind of energy field we're talking about that if you understood yourself and your divine autonomy, it would allow you to do a whole lot of things within this world more easily. One is set up unconscious, loving boundaries around you to keep you safe without you having to focus the center of the focus of your attention upon keeping yourself safe. You don't want to do that. You do not want to put threat and danger and fear at the center of your focus ever. Ever. You don't ever want the center of your focus to be a negative as you then move around your world you want to be safe. You want to be safe. You want to feel safe. You want to operate effectively. You want to dance joyfully. You want all of these things. How do you do it in a world that is not safe? Especially, maybe you're a girl, you know? Maybe you're a girl, or maybe you're disadvantaged in some way. You're weak, physically weak. You're vulnerable, physically vulnerable somehow. But you want to be safe in this world, and you want to feel safe. Well, there's ways to do it. There's ways to make yourself more safe in every sense of the word. And I mean, this understanding is going to bring us to collective safety too. Safety from things like living in an authoritarian dictatorship. I do not want to live in an authoritarian dictatorship. And there are forces and people right now. You can feel the storms coming. You can see what they are. I mean, it's just so easy to do. You can see what's rising in the field, and how this energy is growing and developing. You know, if it's evolving, it is evolving. Trump is getting more dangerous, but it's not necessarily because he is so sharp, or because he is anything, amazing or right, or I don't know. We laugh at him and scoff at all of his efforts to overturn all of his, I don't want to get into any kind of detail. Whatever it is that he does, we're like, oh my God, what a buffoon and crazy. What is he doing? He's hurling himself against our judicial system, and he's testing this and that and the other and blah, blah. But what he's really doing is he's coalescing. He's resonating with this particular energy in the field. And he's kind of putting it under one umbrella. And it doesn't matter if we understand it. Well, I mean, it does matter if we understand it. We need to understand it. And we need to quit trying to understand it in the traditional way. Focusing on the villains themselves, the particular individuals, and thinking that the answer to all this is to pillory the villains, the individuals involved. And that isn't what the answer is. The answer is to understand that there is no villain. There is no us and them. There's no one to blame. There is only us. We are a single morphogenetic field unto this planet, and we need to understand how it works, how we are all part of a wholeness that is playing out. It's sort of like when 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 the teenager or whatever has to go to the psychiatrist because they're severely acting up. The psychiatrist knows right away that there are dynamics within the family because they are a whole unit. They are a wholeness, a kind of an integral morphogenetic field. Well, the body of humanity is a single morphogenetic field upon this planet. There's all kinds of, you can individuate. There's all kinds of different morphogenetic fields, but upon this planet, humanity is a single one, is an integral one also. And to that notion, what that means is that your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And the whole thing acts as so if your neighbor is acting up, you have some responsibility in that. But I mean it from a spiritual standpoint. I don't necessarily mean it from any particular action standpoint. I mean it from a let's understand how this works kind of standpoint. And then from your understanding, then whoever you are, do whatever you are inspired to do from this new understanding of what the problem actually is. This problem, we keep thinking that it's Trump. We keep thinking that it's the people that follow him. Because look at all oh man. But what it is it's an energy. It's a particular kind of belligerent, disenfranchised, not feeling secure, all of these people who they are shaken to their core. They are frightened for their future. They're grasping at blame around them. And they are in states of negative emotion. So we're going to go to, the first transition we're going to go to is this emotional guidance scale. This is it's Abraham's notion, and somebody put this up on the internet. You could actually put Abraham emotional guidance scale, find the one that matches what looks like this and print it out yourself. I did a couple of other people's too. There's this one. I bought a couple of these myself. And then this one shows you your emotional guidance scale. Well, the people that follow Trump are largely in the bottom section of this emotional guidance scale. They are in states of negative emotion, and they are looking to blame. They are, it's just a particular kind of energy. And what the whole field phenomenon can be described as, Carl Jung called this thing authoritarian psychosis. And it's not just the authoritarian that has this psychosis. It's mostly all of the people, the frightened people who are looking to a great leader that will help, that will lead them out of the wilderness. Well, I don't like to use that term for it. They're frightened. So what's the answer? The answer to the authoritarian psychosis issue is to understand how this energy works in the field. Understand how it works in you. We decided that today's episode was going to be centered around my pet notion of divine autonomy, which has to do with understanding what you are. So what you are as consciousness, any one of you are two consciousnesses. You are two distinct aspects of consciousness that you've got to reconcile in order for your equipment to be operating optimally. And these two, this is the picture that I use to describe, to sort of illustrate these two minds. Now think of the wide open aperture focal mind as your vibrational, cosmic aspect of your anatomy. that is connected to all things. This is your source mind. This is your eternal continuum of who you are. This is the knowing of all of the physicality around you. This is the vibrational aspect of you that goes on past your physical body and is in concert and contact with all, I should have said it the other way around, contact and concert with all the rest of the universe. This is the aspect of you that knows all things. It's connected to all things. It is, you are both divinely one with the allness, and you are also divinely your separate autonomous self. Both of these things you are at the same time, and both of them together comprise your divine autonomy. Because your divine autonomy is not just you in your physical body and you in your separate self. Your divine autonomy is you in your separate self, in control of your separate self, but divinely one with the wholeness. And it really matters. This, and it literally matters, actually. It literally matters. So remember, we told you that this system was going to be as easy to follow. It's so easy that a snail can do it. A snail, an amoeba can do it. Feel good, good. Feel bad, bad. That's actually as easy as it gets. The problem is that we have, most of us have been raised with different levels, different degrees of superstitious nonsense concerning, which it's, forgive me if I just called your religious cosmology religious nonsense. The likelihood is that there's a great deal of truth embedded within your cosmological education. There's a great deal of truth woven in there, but there's a lot of other stuff kind of in there too. Things that came about because of maybe the cosmological misunderstandings that were in place at the time your religion came into being, whether that was in Roman times or whether it was in the 19th century or whatever. And it could possibly use an update on reality itself. Now, the spirit, in as far as religions educate you about the meaning of spirit, that's another matter. But how they interpret its relationship with physical reality, most of us have been raised with a mixture of truth, a mixture of some science, some superstition, some quackery, a lot of hopeful, a bit of generational trauma thrown in there, because all of us on planet Earth are experiencing some level of trauma, even if you yourself were raised in a loving environment, are living in a loving environment. The fact is, collectively, we're not there yet. Collectively, we still are operating amongst ourselves with systems that are not sustainable, that are literally killing ourselves, killing the planet along with it, and all of us know it, and we don't know what to do about it. And so that creates trauma. That creates trauma. It creates trauma in me, creates trauma in you, whether you realize it or not. And we're not going to be all right until, more generally speaking, more of us and most of us, and then generally all of us, and certainly all of us as a species, the way we are functioning onto this planet, none of us are going to rest completely easy until we have found our way back to source. And what does that mean? You got to understand who you are. You got to understand how it works. You got to understand how you are designed. And then you've got to get into alignment with your broader perspective, your inner knowing, your greater being, your connection to the allness, your peace in the win-win pie, your stake in this universe of unlimited potential and unlimited abundance. We're not going to rest easy until we find ourselves there. And understanding this divine autonomy is, I believe, a good first step. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I as a being in this world? How do I be? How do I be? Well, you got to understand two things. You are divinely part of the wholeness, and you are inextricably part of this wholeness. Everything you do affects everything around you, because it's just like, yeah, so I have twins, and I noticed as they were growing up how, they seemed to comprise a kind of amorphous whole. And some days one of them would be carrying certain characteristics of that wholeness, and the other one would be carrying the flip side, and vice versa. It's a very interesting thing, the study of morphogenetic fields. You kind of got to open up your heart and your eyes and your consciousness in order to see it. You can't look at it and go, well, where is it? I can't see anything. If you have that kind of an attitude, and you're never going to see these subtle things. But so we are one morphogenetic field upon this planet, and it is important for us to understand how to operate as such. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible, and all that. Well, it turns out that you yourself, as a divinely autonomous being, have some really, really powerful control over your own life. That's what you have control over. You don't necessarily have control over much of anything else. But through the power that you exercise over, the control that you exercise over your own life and your own understanding of your own feelings, your own guidance system, how to follow the whispers of your heart and the guidance of your overview that's trying to guide you to, it's truly trying to guide you to what you most dearly want. And what all of us most dearly want is a human system that provides for us all. Because collectively, we can kick ass on the, whoa. Actually, I don't want to say kick ass, because we don't want to kick ass. We don't want, what we want to do, and what human beings absolutely could do if we understood how we worked. We, first of all, the human body, the body of humanity, let's put it that way, not the human body. The body of humanity, this is what we can do. We produce food in large quantities. We can garden huge swatches of land. We can produce mass quantities of all kinds of foodstuffs. Now, don't look at what we're actually doing with that, because we can do so much better. We can do so much better because we're not working in harmony right now with the abundant systems of life itself. And that's what we need to understand. We need to joyfully and abundantly co-create with the powers of nature herself. But in order to do that, we need to understand who we are. And the problem that we've got going on right now on planet Earth is the way we burn fossil fuels. It's because we don't understand who we are. We don't understand the source of all energy. We don't understand the source of ourselves. Because if we did, then we would be plugging our devices directly into source energy and not digging crap up out of the ground and burning it. And we do way more than just that. That makes it sound clean. But what we actually do with it is just horrifying. And then, let's take the tar sands, No, let's don't do that. Let's don't do that. It's horrible, and it's dirty, and it makes our big projects, our big beloved projects, the things we really want to do on this planet, impossible to do because we need the energy to do what we want to do, and the energy is so dirty that as we try to clean up things, it's like trying to clean the kitchen table with a muddy rag. The more you try to clean, the dirtier everything gets. And that it's all coming from us not understanding who we are. If we understood the way this worked, we would never keep burning fossil fuels. The reason that we keep burning fossil fuels is because of momentum. The momentum of the infrastructure that we have built over the last 150 years or whatever, since we first started burning fossil fuels in any way. Was it 150 years? It wasn't even 150 years, was it? Was it 150 years? 1876, had we tapped into oil yet, or were we still burning whale oil? Were we still slaughtering whales, rendering their oil, and burning that for a fuel? Fact is that fossil fuels has brought us to this place. And we can it's like a vehicle a jalopy that made it to our destination. Well, not our destination. Made it to where we are right now. And we can bless it for that, but it isn't going to be what's going to take us the rest of the way. There's a good movie. It's called... Is it called Living in the Future's Past? It's with... I don't usually refer to this one. I usually refer to the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It as it's an interesting documentary about the history of over-unity devices and how they have been squelched and squashed across the board and across the planet because those who own the vast infrastructure of fossil fuels don't want us to transition to free, clean energy at the point of all desire, because right now, fossil fuels, the reality and momentum of fossil fuels and the infrastructure of fossil fuels right now is fueling their pipeline to, billion dollar yachts and Lear jets and private islands and political power and all that kind of stuff. And so they don't want to transition to free, clean energy for everybody. They're not interested in over-unity devices. They're not interested in us being able to drive cars that run on water. Stuff like that. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. I want to talk about divine autonomy and what this understanding means to you as an individual. How do you have a better life? I'll tell you, your inner being knows that the life that you want is chock filled with open-hearted, open-minded, loving, cooperative relationships. That it is dancing forward, becoming better, in safety and let's don't get lost. Divine autonomy, what does it mean? So you are these two minds. I've got this picture still up on the board. You are these two minds. And the whole idea of your divine autonomy is to understand that while you are both the allness and the smallness, I like that, it's kind of a pithy way to say that, you have ultimate and almost utter control, in a spiritual way, over your experience in your life. It's all you have control over. You don't have control over everybody else. You don't have control over conditions around us. You don't have control over the government. You don't have control over anything. You don't have control over conditions around you. But what you do have control over And it turns out that when you understand the depth and breadth and extent of this control, it's enough control. It's all you need to have control over. You have control over how your experience interrelates and rendezvous with all of the conditions out there. You have control over all of that. In actual fact, man, I'm getting a big rush of what this looks like, but I'm not sure exactly how to focus in and talk about it. This divine autonomy, this understanding of your divine nature being both divinely, I know I keep using the word divine, and I'm not, at some point I will define, I will give you a definition of what I mean by the word divine. It's sort of like unsubtractable, you know, solidly real. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's going to get defined. Divine, divinity, what is it? What is it? Divine. You are divinely autonomous. You are divinely in concert with the allness. You are the allness as well as your... But you know what? We all know that. We all know that we're part of the whole. And that really matters. It really, really, really matters. But it's a given. It's a given. The allness that we are is inescapable. But it also really matters that it's holographic. I can tell you briefly, maybe, before the end of this, I don't want to stop and do it right now, how it is that the universe is holographic. But it is holographic, which means all of the information of everywhere is everywhere, all the time. I have, without going anywhere, I have, right where I am, all of the information of all of the universe, right where I am. I have it in the Planck fields, in the Planck field of every one of my protons is reflecting all of the protons of all of the universe. And I believe it's every now, it's updating. My information is uploading to the whole. The information of the whole is downloading to me. I don't have to go anywhere. All of the information of the universe is encoded across the whole field. It's doing it, it's doing it vibrationally, but I was going to say it's It's doing it through the black hole structure of the universe. It's black holes all the way up and all the way down. Every proton that you have is a black hole. A black hole is a kind of fractal integer. It's a little reflection of what it means is that the whole entire universe is right where you are, wherever it is that you are. You are the whole universe. I am the whole universe. That's where this divine autonomy comes from. This ability to line up these two selves, these two minds. My analytical mind needs to line up with my cosmic mind. My cosmic mind's never coming the other way. So you got to line up with it. It's never going to line up with you. So that's where, you know... And what am I really talking about? I'm talking about frequencies. I'm talking about getting into states of being. I'm talking about getting into states of consciousness, states of mind, states of frequencies. I guarantee you that all the frequencies I'm talking about are peaceful, and they're all in the positive emotional guidance scale. Every one of them, from your point of view, they all feel positive. None of them feel negative. So if you're in a state of negative emotion, you are operating contrary to your true knowing about who you are and what you're doing and where you're going and all of that. I'm getting lost. I've never tried this presentation before. I just wanted to talk about divine autonomy and my understanding of it and my definition of it and what an understanding of it means to your ability to set boundaries of safety. They're like force fields of protection that you lay all around you energetically, and when you do that, then the focal point of your attention can be squarely on love and kindness and giving everyone the benefit of the doubt and seeing humanity as being moving positive forward through time, instead of your attention always being dragged back to noticing how awful everybody is. You know, you can get going both directions, and in some ways both directions are true. It's true people are acting up. It's true vortices of chaos are erupting, little storms of things you don't like, things you don't want, out of alignment, vortices of chaos, storms of chaos. That's how I see the January 6th day of insurrection. It was a vortex of chaos. It was a little storm of this energy that is building in the field. You know, we talk all the time about there's no villain. There's no villain out there. What is the enemy? The enemy is, and there actually is an enemy, but it's not a person. There is no actual person. It's the polarity itself in the field is the enemy. And it's in our field, by the way, because we are one morphogenetic field, and that polarity is in our field, and we need to get rid of it. The polarity, not the people on the other side of the political spectrum or whatever. That desire to get rid of the whatever it is on the other side of your polarity is what drove the Nazis to imagine that a final solution was a good idea. Oh, we just need to erase this. We just need to subtract those people. If only those people were not there acting up, then everything would be hunky-dory. Well, the truth of the matter is that that's not true. That the reason that those people are wielding that negative energy is because our systems they're not fulfilling our needs. They are creating people are falling through the cracks of this inadequate system, and they are frightened, and they are flailing, and they are assigning blame, and they are disgruntled, and they're blaming, it's the energy in the field. When parts of us create systems that are unsustainable, this is the most succinct way to put this. Now, I could add not just not sustainable, but not fulfilling everyone's needs. There are people falling through the cracks there, and those people are the ones that start exhibiting this kind of energy form. But the most succinct way to say this is when parts of humanity create large systems that are not sustainable and not effectively nourishing the group, it creates in our human morphogenetic field what I'm going to call Shiva energy. This urge to destroy. And it comes from the negative emotions of the human beings that are not being served by the systems. You know? And when we don't understand this, when we don't move towards the better, when we don't go with our inner beings, when we become inflexible, then large destructive events happen within the human field, like war. That's what World Wars I and II were. We lived in a rigid society. where the aristocracy had a pretty tight grip on all of the benefits. And it really wasn't, there were a lot of people who were disenfranchised and not happy with things. And another thing that causes those world wars is our collective focus casting in a particular direction in a negative way. So we all look in one direction. It's you're the one who's to blame, and we're angry and we're frightened, and then we act as a group, as a planet, and that's a world war. We haven't done that since the middle of last century, and God willing, we will never do it again. We've been working very hard for 100 years to expand the diversity of our attention ability. It used to be that the collective mediums were very, very limited, and so a great deal of consciousness was cast across those limited mediums, like radio. Radio, for instance, it was only radio through World Wars I and II. Only radio. In World War I, it was mostly just still newspaper, for crying out loud, and a little bit of telegraph and telephone. But as far as radio was big in World War II, and then after that World War, we had television, and then the next war that tried to happen was televised before they started shutting down the right now we've got all kinds of bloody events going on that America is involved in. We don't usually show the graphic details of the body bags and the terrible things that were shown on television when Vietnam happened, for instance. So since then, we have cable TV has come on the scene, then the internet, and now we have literally exploded millions of different directions that our attention can go. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. It's harder for us to focus collectively in a negative way, agree on what we're looking at, and then act in unison. It's harder for us to do that, and thank God it is. We've been working very hard collectively, and what has been this working very hard? What am I really talking about? Working very hard? What I mean is pursuing fun. All of this entertainment, all of the making movies, making TV shows, developing entertainment, even the internet is entertaining to us. All of this, it's our fun factor, our joyful heart is the one who leads us out of our problems, not the serious-minded one who wants to focus on the problems and get to the bottom of problems. That's not the one who solves the problems. That's not the one who solves the problems. The one who solves the problems is the joyful heart. And so who am I? Who am I, and how do I keep myself safe, and how do I understand my divine autonomy? I am autonomously, we just established that you are at the center of your own universe. You are, because you possess all the information of the whole universe, and then you possess these two spinning discs of attraction, these two spinning vortices of attraction. Points of attraction. One is your source mind, a very, very, very powerful, compelling, forward-moving, cannot stop it, in touch with all of where the physicality really is, what it's been doing, what it all means. That source mind is in touch with all of that and expanding and moving forward, and there's no stopping it, and it's all positive. Now, you, on the other hand, as a human being, possess a particular kind of analytical mind. And in our case right here, I'm illustrating that by this smaller aperture of focus on the right. That's, to me, that's what that represents. It represents the physical, in your physical body, mind. That mind. But you know, as a human being, you actually have a pretty interesting configuration of that mind, and it's this. This is your human mind. This is you in your flesh mind. And your neocortex corresponds. Your neocortex is sort of, to the rest of your mind, it's what your source mind is to you. It's broader perspective. It's overview. It's the ability to step back and see a larger frame. You have that ability. You also have the free agency to turn in any direction that you want. You can turn 360 degrees, go in any direction, go with source, go against source. You have a kind of free agency that most of the rest of the creatures that walketh, that creepeth upon the planet do not have. It makes you both blessed and cursed, you could say. This is what it means to be a human being, to have this overview mind that can see past the emotions of your mammalian brain. Your mammalian brain has you leaping to protection. You don't think too much about it, and then when the threat's gone, then you go back to your attachment to your child. You love your child. That's probably coming from the focal point of your maternal hormones, cause you to attach to that small being. Before, when you were a lizard, you didn't have to attach to anything. You just laid your eggs and ran. Anyway, so this is your configuration. To exercise your divine autonomy, this is how it works. You have to know that you do have an inner being, and that inner being knows where all the threats are. You have to trust your inner being to help you through this. You can't just analytically think your way through everything. You're working in tandem with a broader perspective, and you're using your emotional guidance system to understand how to navigate this. So, in order to exercise your divine autonomy, pardon me 1 second. One of the reasons I would like to be able to clearly describe this, there's a lot of people out there who want to make themselves safe. And in doing so, often what they mistakenly do is they more ferociously focus upon the threats around them, thinking that if they put their analytical mind firmly on the threats, that then they would, but then you have to keep track of, where all the pedophiles live, and you have to keep track of, there's too many things to keep track of, is actually where you may argue with me right there. Well, you need to keep track of where the pedophiles. My general point was, there are so many threats that actually, when you start focusing on threats, the world becomes a nightmare landscape around you, and life becomes more and more frightening and less safe. And you'll go down a psychological rat hole that might end up with you starting out trying to keep all your children safe from all of the threats in this world, to throwing your hands up in despair, deciding that it's not worth living, and then you drown them all to keep them safe from what could happen to them in this world. That's the kind of thing that this rat hole can lead you to if you don't understand how to line up your energies. If you don't understand how to line up yourself. So the idea is think of these two apertures as focal points of the mind. Now the source one you don't really have a lot of control over, but you do know that it is always positive. It is always looking forward. It is always looking at everything that is, with a capital I. It is not looking at what is not. It's not pining over things that didn't happen. It's not regretting things from the past. It's not blaming anyone, you or anyone else. It is only in loving, connected connection with all other things in physicality, and it knows where they all are. This is an aspect of you. This is who you are. This is, when your body dies, who you continue to be. I think it's who you really are because it's who you always are. Your physical body self, that's who you are too right now, and it's divinely important. But your eternal aspect is your source energy aspect, and you need to spend some time contemplating the truth of that, identifying that direction. It's very comforting to know that you really are not just your physical body. To believe that you are just your physical body is to become quite nervous in this world, actually, because physical bodies are not safe. They never have been. It's like you're a cell in the body of humanity, just like you have cells within the body of you. And the cells within the body of you, they come and go. But you continue. You know, millions and billions of your cells die off every day. And you continue. And that's kind of an analogy to what's going on with humanity, with what's going on with the whole universe, because frankly, the whole universe is alive. And you are one with that universe. And you have all of the information of everything going on in that universe in motion. You have information about stuff going on across the other side of the planet, across the other side of the solar system, across the other side of the galaxy, across the other side of the universe. And it's non-local. It's non-local information. It's right where you are, wherever you are, because it's everywhere, because the universe is holographic. Now, we're going to take my word for it today. I'm not going to talk about the mathematics of it today. I don't think I am. The fact is the math of this general understanding of the universe that I'm talking about has been done. Source energy and its relationship, the quantum and the cosmological, the relationship has been defined mathematically. And the interesting part about that is this is what is going to lead us to the technologies that will allow us to tap directly into source energy, which burns nothing, which destroys nothing. There will be no more carbon footprint upon the planet Earth. And we will have all the energy that we need to recycle Garbage Island, to resequester the carbon back into the earth, to desalinate all the ocean water that we want to and bloom any desert that we want to. We will have control of gravity because understanding of source truly helps us does not help us. It brings us to an understanding of what gravity actually is. It is the spin baked into the cake. And mathematically how to understand it in order to create those devices that will lift our transportation systems up off the surface of the planet, and no longer do we have to coat the surface of the planet in concrete and asphalt for our vehicles. And yet we can find that future that is abundant and fun and playful and involves all the zipping around the planet and the universe that our heart desires without killing everything as we do it. We can have a future of tremendous abundance and play and peace on earth, goodwill towards men. But what is the path that's going to lead us to that? We got to understand who we are. We got to understand who we are. And each and every one of us, it is our responsibility to get into our own machinery and man your divine autonomy. You have the power all by yourself through an understanding of how your system works to bring yourself to a place of maximum security, maximum safety within your mind, within your being, how you operate, so that you can point your nose towards the sun and the fun and focus on what's good in this world, as opposed to believing that you have to stare all the time at identified threats. You got to identify those threats. You got to write them down. You got to remember where they are. You got to focus on them on a map. You got to make sure that you don't ever walk that way or that way or that way, because that's where, Pervy Pete lives over there, and Stabby Joe lives over there, and Cannibal Carter lives over there. And you got to make sure that that's not how you run the labyrinth. That's not how you run the labyrinth. You're walking a labyrinth. You could think of it as a maze, but it's really more of a labyrinth, because as you walk through the mazy part of the labyrinth, there are treasures and threats all around you. How do you do it so that you live a fun life that leads you to things that you want and an existence that's better for you and all of us? How do you do that? How do you not, accidentally or with your energies turn every corner and walk into every demon in the place? How do you do that? Because there are demons everywhere. Why are there demons everywhere? Because we don't understand who we are, and we don't understand how the energies work, and we keep summoning these demons. We keep invoking them. They are Shiva demons. They are just energy vortices. I know it's vortices, but I like the way vortexes kind of connotates it slightly different. They are vortexes of chaos. How do you avoid them? Learn how to focus. Learn how to focus, because actually lining these two minds up has to do with focus, has to do with focusing your thoughts and your emotions, getting them focused in a particular way, focused in alignment with one another. How can you tell when they're in alignment with one another? It feels good. It feels emotionally good. It feels like love. It feels like appreciation. It feels like gratitude. It feels like hope. It feels like enthusiasm. It feels like eager, playful. It doesn't feel like regret or sadness or anxiety. It doesn't feel like that. When you're lined up with your inner being, it feels good. So how do you do that? Well, if you aren't doing that, it's likely your beliefs are the problem. So you need to kind of you need to massage your beliefs and your desires, your inner being, the impetus of your inner being, the impetus of your soul, of that wick of forward energy, that source motion of you. Where that is located, it's located at the point of your desire. It's where you are desiring. It's where, and you may be, you may not have it focused very well, but that desire is source energy. And that's why it feels active. Desire is active. Now, you may have sublimated it, you may have your beliefs twisted up and have your desire and your beliefs may be twisted up in a knot. And so your system isn't flowing the way it ought to be. But I'll tell you who you are. You are a preference. You're a preference noticing machine. That's, I don't know. I don't know if that quite captures it, but you are what you are is, as your eyes look out onto the world and you have experience in this physical life based on what's actually in place at any given moment, the actual experiences that you have, the color and texture of the products that surround you, or the the way anyway, you live your physical life, and as you do so, just naturally, you notice things that you didn't like, and you think about how they could be better. Abraham calls these rockets of desire. They are energy impulses that notice what would be better. As you live your life, if you're having fun and everything's great and you notice how it could be better and better, that may be one way you're doing it. Or you're having a horrible existence, stubbing your toe because you're I'm devolving into decoherence. I'm very, very sorry about that. I'm pulling at analogies that I haven't worked on. So, in any case, how does this work? This is how Abraham puts it, and she's got a very succinct way of doing this. So, living your life causes you to ask. The steps of creation go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, life contrast causes you to ask. It's this preference for better, this recognizing what it is and then conceiving of how it could be better. You don't have enough food, you want more food. You stub your toe all the time, you want good shoes. You're cold, you want a warm coat. You don't have any money, you want more money. The water is flooding over here on this side. If you cut away this little tiny channel right here, it all drains out into, and then you can store it in the pot, and that's better. You got this, what would be better? What would be better? What would be better? Abraham calls these rockets of desire. And your inner being, your source energy aspect, is only keeping track of the better. It is hearing every better, that, and then it is leading you through your emotional guidance system to the better. It's pulling you forward to the better. It's very interesting how this system works. But let's get back to divine autonomy. How does my understanding of this system make me safe? I'm a single female in this world, and I want to be safe. And yet I know that people get roofied all the time. How do I keep myself safe in this world? Well, the way you do it is you have to lock your hand in the hand of your inner being, who will lead you to where all of the things that you want are. When you perceive threats around you, see them in your peripheral vision. Don't look at the threats directly in the center of your focus. You don't want to do that. When you do that, you have centered your small aperture focus directly on fear and threat, which I guarantee you is not in alignment with the way your inner being's mind is spinning. And so just by doing that, by putting the threat into the center of that aperture of your focus, you immediately disconnect from source energy. And now you do not have the guidance of your broader perspective, that's trying to lead you on a life's path of what you really want. It may or may not be a specific path to specifically right in this moment what you think you want. Your inner being is valiantly guiding you at all times towards, in your life, what you really, really want. So, say for instance, you think you want a job. You think you want a particular job. And you're afraid you're not going to get it, but you think you want it because you're frightened and you need money, da 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 da. But this job is really not a good thing for you. It's not a good thing for you, and the only reason that you're grasping at this particular job is that you're frightened. But it isn't what you really want. It's not going to be sustaining in any way, and as a matter of fact, your inner being knows that it goes directly against everything you believe, and it is not whatever. You're grasping at it in fear anyway, and so, surprise, surprise, you don't get the job. You thought you wanted the job, but things are always working out for you. They are always working out for us. Things are always evolving to the greater. And it's just because of the way the vibrational way that the universe is. It just is doing that. This feed-forward feedback system of information flow is just causing the universe to expand. And it is eternally expanding, and there's not a problem with that. It's always getting better. It's always becoming more. There is a trajectory, and it is to the better. Don't worry about it. We all have inner beings. Our collective humanity has an inner being, and we are all going to be just fine. But how does your understanding of this help you to become fine? Divine autonomy. I guess what it all comes down to, and I've been using a lot of analytical words and a lot of matter-of-fact and pseudo-scientific jargon, and but what it really comes down to is you gotta know that you have an inner being, and this inner being is your vibrational compadre, your partner, your guide, your inner guide. You have it, and the way that you read it is you've got to pay attention to how you feel, and never take thoughts that do not resonate with your inner being. If you take a thought and it feels bad, it doesn't feel bad because it's true. It feels bad because your inner being knows that from a broader perspective, it's not true. So you may look around you and see no physical human beings anywhere around you. And you may erroneously conclude from that simple observation, that you are alone. And you may take that thought, I'm alone, and it feels bad. You might think, I'm alone, and because I'm alone, I'm vulnerable. And because I'm alone, there is no assistance for me. There's nothing that can help me. I have no power. Those kind of thoughts, as you take those thoughts and you gather more and more momentum down those thoughts, they feel bad. Well, the reason they feel bad is not because they're true, but because your inner being knows that is not true. That you couldn't be more connected, in truth, to everything around you. You couldn't have more potential and possibility for power to orchestrate and fulfill the desires of your own life, power to coordinate the rendezvous that you want to have with the rest of the world. The power that you have is the power to affect your own life and your own life experience. The meaning of that the reason that that is important and interesting is that you don't have the power to control the conditions, the outside conditions, apart from yourself. You have a little bit of limited power to stir things up a little bit physically around you, but that's not where your true power is. Your power lies in how you fly your own machine, your own starship, if you will, and how it rendezvous with the rest of the universe around you. Now, you don't have complete and utter control of it physically. What you have control of is vibration. And so what you can have control of is you can't make other people dance to your tune. That's not what you can do. What you can do is that you can make sure that you only rendezvous with people when they are at their best. How do you do that? Be at your best. You're a transmitter and a receiver. We're taught something different than that. Our collective education does not tell us. As children, they should be telling us, you are a transmitter and a receiver. And the channel that you are receiving on is the same one that you're transmitting on. So if you're transmitting, if you're on the Henri channel, if you're out there broadcasting Henri, then you're on the Henri channel and you are rendezvousing with the Henri. So that's what you have control over. Do you rendezvous with the Henri, or do you rendezvous with the loving, cooperative, open-minded, interested, playful, relaxed? What are you rendezvousing with? It's all in motion. And the motion that is in, by the way, is spin. It's all spin. And the reason that it doesn't look like spin is because we're all of us here on this planet are spinning at almost the same rate. Now, the reason that any of us moving around on this planet are moving around is because we're spinning at a slightly different rate than all of the things around us. And so your inner being knows where everything is, knows how it is in motion, knows where it was when you declared, knows how you can hook up with all of it just knows everything. Your inner being knows everything. Your inner being knows everything. And if you come to understand the Planck field, the quantum field, the pixelated universe, how the frequencies interact with one another, how the holographic fractal spinning universe is coming into being across the event horizon of the 0 point energy field, the vacuum fluctuations, the if you understand how that works, then you go, oh, no wonder your inner being knows everything. Because everything is right here for me to know. I don't have to go anywhere to know it all. So trust your inner being, trust your feelings, trust your guidance system. Focus on what feels good. Do not focus on what feels bad. I don't care if it means, yeah, but in this day and age, you got to know about this threat and this threat and this threat and this threat and this threat, and you got to catalog all these threats and you got to keep them all you know what? And this pisses me off. This pisses me off now that I'm focusing on all these things that don't focus on the threats. Do not focus on the threats. You can look at the threats. I do not encourage naivety. It is not my desire to get everybody to put their head in the sand. You can see the threats, just don't focus on them. Like, okay, I get you, I see you, you're over there, I see you. And as a matter of fact, if you're feeling threatened, focus ever the more harder upon the light and the beauty and the love and the what feels good. Take a nap, take a bath, take a walk, do a meditation, anything. Raise your frequency. Do not focus on the darkness. Do not focus on the darkness. Do not focus on the darkness. You can acknowledge the darkness, and as a matter of fact, I would advise that you do. Look at it in a different way. Now, in the days to come, I am going to be talking about authoritarian psychosis. That's going to be another topic that I want to extract from the greater field of this body of knowledge and discuss, because it's going to become more interesting and more relevant and more in our face right now as a topic. And I don't suggest that everybody just look the other way and feel good. Although if that's what you have to do to feel good, go ahead and do it. But you can look at authoritarian psychosis and still feel good. It's a field phenomenon, and understand that we are the field. We are the divine matrix, and we are all one. We are all one in this morphogenetic field. So things that are happening, that phenomenon that is happening, is not disconnected from who I am. We are one collective spirit, and like it or not, humanity is one being upon this planet. We have systems that we've created that produce food, that produce goods, that provide services, that trade these goods and services, that distribute these goods and services. We have developed our nervous system, which also allows for capitalization just merely from drawing attention. Now, that's always been true, but before you had to own the radio station or the television station or the movie studio or whatever to be able to get across. Now, all you have to do is have a freaking microphone, an internet connection, and boom, you can be up and running. Case in point, myself, because that's what I'm doing, and I'm nobody. I'm absolutely nobody. And the fact that I am broadcasting, now nobody's listening right now, and that's okay. Nobody has to listen right now. Largely, I do this for myself because I'm practicing. I'm practicing being able to present this material. Who am I? This general sense, I have a sense of how my internal unconscious force fields of protection have worked around me all my whole life. I have charmed my own life, and as an adult looking back, I began to realize what it was that was making me safe, where I was more safe and where I wasn't as safe, when I acted this way or when I acted that way, when I focused this way or focused that way, when I interpreted the world as a certain thing or interpreted it differently, when I identified this way or that way. When was I safe? When did it work? When did it not work? I do a lot of reflecting. I live for a minute, and then I like to stop, back up from the whole thing, reflect fully on, let's see, what did I do and how did that work? And what did that imply? And now, what did I learn? What do I know now that I didn't know before? I do that a lot, which frustrates the crap out of some people that I live with because they don't want me to be that way. They want me just to jump into the world and play with them. And I want always to keep the world at a distance because I dip my toe in the water for just a minute, and then I want to back off and reflect on it and think about all the things that just taught me. And then I want to go out and do it again. And now I haven't always been exactly this way. I went balls to the walls for a few years and actually learned some very big lessons about life. And I got into some situations that I never want to be in again. I never want to feel physically helpless in that same way again. I want to understand how I'm flying my ship, and I want to be able to navigate it where I want it to go. Now, I was saying you don't have control over conditions. What you do have control over is the spirit of it. And that's all you need control over, because if the spirit that you land in is loving, kind, abundant, cooperative, peaceful, beautiful, playful, joyful, all that, who cares what the details are? You let the universe play out whatever details it wants. You know, it does not matter as long as the spirit is correct. And what do I mean by spirit? It's vibration. It's a feeling. You can sense it. It's somewhere right around your solar plexus. This feeling, and the feeling has to do with the thoughts that you're having about things. Either have no thoughts about anything and then just move towards what feels good. You can either do it that way. That's what all of nature is doing. Have no thoughts about it, no analytical thoughts about it whatsoever, and just move gently from the impulses that you get from your anatomy. You know, you're going to get adrenaline hits, you're going to get maternal feelings, and, things, different impulses that you get from different hormonal, whatever causes you to focus in different ways. Just move that way. Don't think about it, just do it. Don't think about it at all. I think about it a lot of the time and I'm off in the negative weeds, but now I'm just going to not think about it and I'm just going to do it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about don't ever think at all and act on the impulses coming from the outside field. Either do that, or if you're going to indulge in human thought, it is important that you line your human thought up with your source mind and what your source mind knows about it, because otherwise you are going contrary to actual reality. You are moving contrary to what you actually want if you are ignoring your internal guidance system, because that internal guidance system is your vibrational aspect that is in concert and contact with all of reality. The reality of where all of the cells are, where the wind is blowing, how your blood is flowing, how the sun is rising, where the river, the water, it's in touch with all of the real stuff, all of the protons in all of the universe. It's in touch with all of reality. That's how your inner being knows, and that's why you should trust it. How do you trust it? Pay attention to how you feel. Don't think thoughts that take you into dark places. Those dark places are evidence that your inner being isn't there, that your inner being isn't looking that way, that isn't the path that you want to be on. There's nothing wrong with your negative emotion. My advice about how to act with your negative emotion is when you have negative emotion, do not act. Sit there with that negative emotion, feel it, know it, get the hit of the data stream it's giving you. Don't act on it until you have transmuted it into a positive. And as soon as you've hit the positive, now get up off your hands and act. Your impulses are clear now. The impulses that you're going to be getting are now clear. They are not distorted. If you're getting the impulses that you're getting when your mind is in a state of negative emotion, when you have focused your thinking into now you've tangled yourself up, you're in a negative emotion. those impulses are skewed. The impulses that you're getting there, they're chaotic now. They are not clear. They are not coming from the general flow of positive source. You've tangled them up somehow. So you wait. Know that your negative emotion is not an indictment upon life itself. It's not an indictment upon existence itself. Your negative emotion is just part of your anatomy. It's part of your equipment. Understand that it's okay. It is telling you, oh, wait, I can see now what my vibration's doing. You want that guidance. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Don't blame yourself for it, but do not act until you've got the green light. It's like your negative emotion is giving you red light for action. Stop. Take care of yourself. Rethink this. Pick a broader frame, a different vantage point. There's something you're missing. Soothe yourself. Take care of yourself. You're not... and as soon as you get back to contentment or higher, now that's okay. Green light. Start acting. You could act for a minute. If you act in negative emotion, make sure it's really small. Really, really small. So you can dance it out. You can see it play out. You can move forward. Never, ever, ever take large action from negative emotion. It's the biggest reason we should never be actively engaged in war. Never, ever, ever. Because it's the very epitome of large action from negative emotion. You never engage in war from a positive perspective. It's always anger, fear, revenge, that kind of stuff. It's never joy and cooperative co-creation. It's never that. It's Shiva energy pounding down something that we have created that is rigid and inflexible, non-sustainable, life affirming. It's and in that not being sustainable and not being nourishing or not taking care of the needs of the group or the needs of whatever that system was designed to take care of the needs of, if it doesn't, it creates Shiva energy. There are so many things that we do that creates this kind of demonic energy. It's a demonic energy. And human beings, say if you don't have a specific positive going, you haven't gotten a positive momentum of your own going. If you're just kind of sitting around, not exercising your divine autonomy, which involves getting into alignment and then on purpose develop a positive momentum in a direction that you choose. So you're just kind of idle. Idle hands are the devil's workshop, right? Idle momentum is ripe for when that Shiva energy sweeps through, you're going to be the one that picks it up. You're going to be the one that picks up a gun and goes off to destroy something that you've got it focused one way, but it's really a phenomenon happening in the larger quantum field. So there's no real reason for us to be personalizing this or vilifying individuals on the one hand, because it is this kind of energy. However, the reason that we have a tendency to pick on the individuals is because every individual possesses this divine autonomy and actually has the power to keep themselves from falling into one of those negative vortices. I can't ever decide whether I want to say it right or not. Vortices. So, on the one hand, it's Shiva energy, and we're all to blame for that. And on the other hand, if you would intentionally get into the machinery of your equipment and start on purpose developing a positive momentum, get your negative trains, to be still so that your positive trains can leave the station, and then get a positive momentum, something you're creating, something you want, something you desire, that you're going after, that you believe you can have. And now you're working towards it. You're developing a positive momentum that is going to give you a shield that will protect you from those little vortices of chaos that are going to spin through your, and that is, those vortices of chaos, they play out, they demonstrate, they present in different ways. They can present in big organized ways. They can present in little let's just say they can present in little ways and big ways. It can be a single agent of chaos that you come across that does something to your life, that bowls down something in your life, or it could be the Nazis. That's more of a collective negative phenomenon that happens. This authoritarian psychosis, this energy form in the field that gets picked up by people who do not have a positive of their own going, and so they're sucked right into the negative vortex. The vortex of chaos that sweeps through. It's how come we say idle hands are the devil's workshop. They are. When you don't have your own positive going, you are vulnerable to the negative energies that can sweep in from around you. However, you have the power to keep yourself safe from that. You have the power to focus in such a way that you are not vulnerable to such things. They aren't actually asserting anything in your experience. It turns out if that vortex of negativity swirls into your experience and sweeps you away, it's because you had those negative vibrations active within you. You were pandering to your own fear. You were entertaining your own negative emotions. You were not purposefully, intentionally building a positive momentum within the center of your own combined and aligned being, which would keep you safe from that chaos. This is the meaning of divine autonomy. I think I've kind of circled back. I've made it to my final circle. This is the meaning of divine autonomy, this ability to man your own center and call your own shots, orchestrate your own life. You don't do it by manhandling the conditions out there. You do it by guiding your own steps into the spirit that you desire, the vibration that you desire. That's what you have control over. Is it loving? Is it kind? Is it sustaining? Is it fearful? Is it protective? Is it, what is it? So we're going to talk more about this on other days, I'm sure. I don't think that tomorrow's broadcast will be specifically focused on divine autonomy. I just made a stab at it today. I know I'm not polished. I will get polished. This, what you see right now is just a record of how I am evolving, how I'm getting to where I'm going. The corn's in the ground. I know it's coming up. I know it will be giving me fruit at some point. Well, it's going to be giving me corn if it's corn in the ground. I know I'm not where I want to be, but I'm happy where I am, and I'm eager for more. Things will get better, as I learn to train my focus more in alignment with what my inner being knows to be true about who I am, where I am, what I am about, what I want. It knows what I want. It knows where what I want is. And as I bring my thoughts into alignment with its greater knowing, it will lead me to how those things in physicality spill out into my experience. That's how it works. This is my divine autonomy. And I need to exercise it. All of us need to go in and identify what you want. You might be massaging your beliefs and your desires into the same place, so that you can move towards what you want. But what you want is important. What you want is what the universe wants. The universe wants this clarity. The universe wants this abundance. The universe wants this peace, this dancing co-creation between us all. That's what the universe wants. And when you line up with what the universe wants, and what you want is in alignment with what the universe wants, you will find cooperative components to your desires everywhere. Everywhere. When what you want is a living, breathing, abundant, thriving universe, world, planet, with ecosystems that are not being slaughtered and slashed and burned, with systems, human systems that support us all, efficient communication systems, transportation systems, food production systems, goods and service distribution systems, all of that in alignment with source energy, with the dancing, living creation that we all are. That's what we want. That's what I want. And when your desires line up with the desires of the universe, then all of your projects within those desires will be assisted every step of the way. When all you want is just fearful, greedy, something for yourself, and the good idea that you have about that is to go knock over the local 7-Eleven, you aren't going to find the cooperative components to your desires the same way. But your inner being wasn't leading you to knock over the 7-Eleven. Your inner being was trying to lead you to good ideas, you know? Helpful connections within the human biosphere, all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're coming up on the end of this for today. I did not cover everything today, and that's okay. Do I want to cover anything else other than the very few slides that I almost put no slides up? I didn't mention that I believe that neocortex comes from a genetic modification performed some 200,000 years ago, give or take. And why I believe that, I usually say that in one of my... I didn't do that this time. I also didn't really go into the mathematics or discuss where you can find the mathematical descriptions of the holographic universe and our understanding of, in physicality, who we are, and how that understanding of source energy is going to lead us to being able to plug our devices directly into source energy. The only reason we haven't done it so far is we haven't understood source energy. The consciousness needed for that wasn't there. Well, the consciousness is rising. The consciousness in the field is rising, and you are a part of it, and I am a part of it, and everything around you is a part of it. And it really is getting better. Don't focus on the bad things. If you focus on the bad things, you really will have no space left in your analytics to see how wonderful this world is, how blessed and perfect, how perfectly reflective, how much power you have. You have all the power that you could ever need or want to affect your life. Your life. Your life is the one that and by osmosis, if you do a really good job, by the power of your example, you can have tremendous influence on the world around you. The only influence you really want to have, which is the influence to inspire others to their alignment. You don't want to call anyone else's steps. You don't want to call anyone else's actions. There is no one else's actions that you can actually call accurately from where you are, because you need to be standing where they are in order to understand how to move from where they are. And how anyone knows how to move from where they are, you need to link up with your inner being and let source energy help you decide which direction to go, so that we will all end up in a harmonic blending of, it's a win-win dance we're at. And source energy knows where we all are and how we are all trying to dance. So line up with your inner being. That's my advice for the day. Line up with your inner being. Pay attention to how you feel. And with that, we're going to wind it up for another day. There were moments of this that were good. I apologize for other moments that might have been a little muddy. In any case, I am a work in progress, and you are too. And we will never get it wrong, because we will never get it done. It is always us evolving to the better, the expansion, the more. And when we get there, then we will see more still. And that is the eternal dance. Until I see you again, if indeed I see you now, until tomorrow, I bid you peace.